Welcome 2018-2019 NSLI-Y semifinalists and families. Congratulations on being named a semifinalist. We created this video to remind semifinalists of requirements and to answer some frequently asked questions that our staff regularly receive from semifinalists. Please watch the whole video with a parent or guardian. It won't take more than 15 minutes of your time. It's also wise to review the NSLI for Youth website and terms and conditions again now that you're a semifinalist. AFS USA is a NSLI-Y partner organization who coordinates our interview process. An AFS volunteer will contact you to arrange an interview. They'll be emailing you at the address that you provided in your application, so please watch that email and be responsive to ensure that your interview can be scheduled. Your interview might take place at a large interview event or might be a one-on-one at another location. If you live abroad or in a remote location, it is likely that your interview will be arranged by Skype or phone. In-person interviews are arranged, though, to the extent possible. AFS is already working hard to schedule interviews and will continue to contact semifinalists for interviews throughout December and January. Please contact AFS if you are not contacted by January 19th. Do not contact AFS before that date. As noted in your semifinalist notification, December is a good time to apply for a passport if you don't already have one. If you're selected as a finalist, you'll need to be able to provide a copy of your passport as early as late February. Please note that it will also be necessary to ensure that your passport has at least 6 months of validity beyond the NSLI-Y expected program dates. Therefore, this might require that you will get a new passport if you have one that will expire in 2018. Also note that if you're selected to go to Russia, you will most likely need an 18-month period of validity on your passport. Please visit this Department of State website for more details on how to apply. All semifinalists must submit a completed NSLI-Y medical evaluation form to the semifinalist portal by February 8th at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. You should use the same login and password as you did for your NSLI-Y application. The medical form requires a self-assessment, that's Part A, and this portion should be completed by you, the semifinalist, as well as your natural parents. Before submitting your form, be sure that you and your parents or guardians sign pages 7 and 8, so you'll need to sign that form twice. The form also requires information from your family doctor or physician or nurse practitioner, and that's in Part B. Please note that NSLI-Y, the NSLI-Y medical review has stipulations for physicals. Summer semifinalists should have had a physical in the 6 months prior to when the form is completed. And academic year semifinalists will need a physical within 3 months of completion of the form. It's really important for NSLI-Y to have the most up-to-date information possible. Also, please ensure that Part C, this is the mental health section, is completed if this is applicable to your medical history. See the requirements on the form for more information. Part D, the dental section, is only required for academic year semifinalists. And you can use the handy checklist on page 4 to ensure that you submit everything you need. Please carefully review the guidelines for the medical evaluation process. Our medical reviewers are health professionals. They're nurse practitioners or physicians and medical doctors. And I don't have time to review all of these, but I just want to give you a few general reminders. So non-disclosure of a medical condition or issue is grounds for termination of a scholarship if the scholarship is offered. Please provide up-to-date and accurate information so that our staff can do our best to identify a safe placement. To comply with federal laws, medical forms are only evaluated after finalist decisions are made and notifications are released. Medical evaluation and determining of final placement if final placement is possible, is made on a case-by-case basis. Again, please carefully review the guidelines to understand the process and expectations. Also, be aware that some medications are not legal in certain host countries. Do some research on this with your physician. Furthermore, NSLI-Y participants are generally expected to carry, manage, and properly store medications themselves unless host country restrictions require otherwise. We're also often asked about vaccinations. We are not doctors or medical professionals, and we can't provide guidance on this. So again, we would advise you to please discuss these with your physician or review the website cdc.gov/travel. We're required by law to inform you of our privacy practices for your medical information, just like your doctor's office probably does. Signing page 7 will acknowledge your understanding of NSLI-Y program policies. Signing page 8 will acknowledge your understanding of NSLI-Y's HIPAA practices. Please be sure to check the appropriate items under number 5 on page 8 if it's relevant for you. Also, please carefully review the timeline on page 4. Note that you may be offered a scholarship in March and then be asked questions about your medical history in April or May, for example. It's possible that we might ask to speak with your physician or therapist if more information is needed for the medical evaluation process. NSLI-Y may transfer your placement after the scholarship offer is made if a safe placement in the initial host country placement cannot be identified. And while it's rare, it's also possible that NSLI-Y cannot place a finalist safely in any location. And again, this is quite rare, but it is possible, and again, after the initial notification is sent. But we will be in touch with the finalists' parents, and typically we'll ask additional questions before such a decision would be made. The medical evaluation form is very important to prepare and allow for safe placements, so please be honest while you fill it out. We have been able to make placement arrangements and accommodations for many finalists over our history, but of course we must be mindful of safety needs. So please ensure that you contact NSLI-Y at americancouncils.org if your contact information has changed from the application. You can review your application again to make sure that it's correct. As discussed on our website, finalist notifications take place on a rolling basis, and notifications are sent by email. So summer semifinalists will be notified of their status starting in early March to early to mid-April, and academic year semifinalists will be notified of their status typically beginning late March and continuing through mid-April. But all semifinalists will be notified of their status by the end of April. And we do our best to expedite the process each year, but with thousands of applicants, the process takes time and we need to be fair to everybody. If you are selected as a finalist, you'll receive 2 things. 1, a finalist acceptance form that you and your parents will need to sign. And 2nd, a program description that includes program dates, program location, the implementing organization for which you're assigned and their contact information, as well as some general program details. Summer finalists have 7 days to respond with the acceptance form and a copy of their passport. Academic year finalists will have 14 days. Finalists will receive information about pre-program preparation requirements soon after notification, and these activities are required. Participants and families should expect to devote some time to such activities in the spring months. We're not able to provide program dates to any semifinalists. Program dates are not finalized or approved until soon before the notification by the Department of State. Program dates are not finalized or approved by the Department of State until soon before notification. So in short, they're not available right now, and we will not be able to answer any questions if asked. I'll just repeat that. We cannot provide program dates at this point, and we won't be able to answer if we're asked that question. We also cannot consider your personal or academic or family schedule in the placement process. So this is a good time to review the NSLI-Y terms and conditions again with your parents. We can't review all the requirements right now, but I'd like to highlight some that relate to common questions. Finalists may be required to submit their passport to the implementing organization in advance of the pre-departure orientation in order to obtain a visa. We can't determine which host countries will require this now, as these requirements are subject to change by the host country at any time. However, please note that this may limit your international travel in the months before your planned program. And a couple of notes on that. So for applicants of Chinese and Hindi programs, please be aware that visa requirements for China and India might require that all of your parents or legal guardians will also need to submit their valid U.S. passports as part of the visa application. And as I mentioned before, visa requirements for Russia may require that your passport be valid for 18 months after the anticipated end of your NSLI-Y program. So please be mindful of that if you're applying for a Russian program. Finally, for Persian applicants, if you're selected as a finalist, you will be required to come to Washington, D.C. for a visa interview, either May 21st or May 25th, and the scholarship will cover this cost of extra travel. A few other notes. Visits from natural family or friends are not permitted during summer programs, and they're highly discouraged during academic year programs. Academic year participants' families must discuss and obtain permission from the implementing organization in advance. This is typically not permitted until January at a minimum. All participants must travel in accordance to the travel arrangements and schedule made by the implementing organization to the pre-departure orientation and round trip to the host country. For example, it's not permitted for a NSLI-Y student to stay in the host country after the group returns home. Again, final acceptance of the NSLI-Y scholarship is dependent on meeting medical, placement, academic, and visa requirements. Participants are expected to participate in all program activities. Participants should not expect to complete online coursework while on program. Behave in a way that does not bring disrepute to the NSLI-Y, Department of State, implementing organization, etc. This includes online behavior, both before the program and during it. We have a zero tolerance policy for drugs, and consumption and/or purchase of alcohol is prohibited. Participants are also expected to comply with safety guidance provided from Department of State and their implementing organizations. Participants are subject to U.S. and to host country laws, and again, please review all stipulations. Note that implementing organizations will likely also require an additional code of conduct that is in line with host country expectations and cultural norms. Please see the links for the official NSLI-Y social media pages and Ask NSLI-Y alumni. We know that many applicants and parent Facebook groups form independently. We don't monitor these groups, and frankly, there's a lot of misinformation or out-of-date information that's shared in these groups, so please be mindful of this, and be sure to ask our staff if you have questions or concerns. And you can always contact us if you have further questions. Thank you for taking the time to listen to the entire semifinalist video. We hope that it was helpful. Thanks for your continued interest in NSLI-Y.